and welcome back. Let's go through all the steps and best practices that you should have followed to successfully complete the last assignment of Module 4. If you haven't completed the assignment yet, go back and do it now. Assignment 4B, Task 1, Icon. In After Effects, import the Icon Illustrator file. Open the newly created composition, and let's start working on the first part of the task. First, convert the vector layer to a shape layer by using the Create Shapes from Vector Layers option. Open the layer's contents and search for the group containing the baseline. Add a Trim Paths property to it. Go to the 1 second mark and start by animating the end value. Add a keyframe here, and then another one at the beginning of the timeline. Easy ease the keyframes and then preview the animation. Next, let's animate the path property for the remaining groups. Let's move 10 frames before the end of the last keyframe and offset the animation path by 10 frames. By doing this, our first bar will start appearing before the Trim Paths animation ends. Let's also add some overshoot keyframes and animate the opacity so that the bars won't be visible before the end of our Trim Paths animation. Preview the icon animation and let's add the properties to Essential Graphics. We need to change the third bar stroke color, so let's extend the Stroke tab and add the color to Essential Graphics. The other property we need to add is the Scale, but as we want to scale our entire layer and not just the individual groups, we'll add this property from the Transform tab in the main layer panel. Create a new composition and add the icon comp. Expand the Essential Graphics tab, and in the timeline, move to the point where the animation is completed. Tweak the Essential Graphics properties and preview the animation. Assignment 4B, Task 1, Shape. Import the Shape Illustrator file, open the composition, and use the Create Shapes from Vector Layer option. For this part, we'll be animating the path, so let's find the path property and place a keyframe on the initial path. Move to the 2 seconds mark and change the hexagon to a circle. This is actually quite easy. While having the path value selected, use the Convert Vertex tool found under the Pen tool panel and click on any of the vertex points to change it to a circle. If you used Illustrator to create and paste a shape, then well done. Later on, we'll discuss this approach in more depth. Now that we have our circle, let the animation breathe for a second before it starts changing to the next shape. We can do this by moving a second forward and placing a keyframe here. Changing to a triangle from a circle is going to be a bit more challenging, as we need to move the vertex points to a position in which the transition occurs smoothly. First, let's switch back to our hexagon, as it's easier to manipulate the vertex points from this shape. Another thing to take into consideration is that the shape has 6 vertex points in total, and the triangle only has 3, 1 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So instead of adding or removing any, we need to place the existing vertex points in a position where they won't affect the shape. But as you will see later on, this can cause some unexpected and unwanted problems. For the time being, let's move the vertex points and create the triangle shape. We can let the animation breathe for an additional second here before the final transformation. Move forward by 2 more seconds on the timeline and copy and paste the first keyframe from the path property. I want to make a loop, so I'll make an extra second forward to let the hexagon shape rest before it starts turning back into a circle. With our path animated, let's add the next required property, offset paths. We need to add 4 additional copies to the shape. Let's change the copies value to 5 to include the original one, and set the copy offset value to 0. Increase the amount value to space them out more. Now if we preview the animation, you'll notice a bit of an artifact when it animates into a triangle. To fix this, you can change the line join type from miter to round. This will round the corners of our copies so the animation runs smoother. Next, let's animate the color. We want our shape to transition from one hue to another while the shape is transforming. Place the keyframes to match the path animation and pick the colors for each transition. Now do the same with the stroke width values, so it increases and decreases with each transformation. This step is optional, but once you have the keyframes placed, you can edit the animation interpolation using the graph editor. Our animation is complete, but as mentioned before, moving the vertex points to make a triangle can result in errors like the one we're seeing in the preview. This happened because I failed to place the points in a perfectly straight line. We can keep adjusting the points to make it work properly, but to save time and ensure that it is pixel perfect, we need to take another approach. Create an Illustrator file to make a triangle shape. I'm going to start from the top vertex. Remember, After Effects determines the order of the animation path by the order in which the vertices are created. Add 3 additional vertices to match the amount of vertex points as the After Effects shape. Copy and paste the shape onto the triangle path property. You might have to make some minor adjustments to it. But once it's working correctly, copy and paste the keyframe so the animation rests as a triangle shape for a second. Now we have a functioning animation, transforming one shape to another while the color and stroke width change. As an added bonus, I'll animate one of the offset paths parameters as well. Animating the copy offset will make our copies start from the outside and move inward. The rest of the animation is looped, so let's do the same with this one, but using a different method. Start by adding a keyframe at the beginning of the timeline. Move to the 1-second mark and place another keyframe here. The goal is for the copies to start outside and then go inside the shape and repeat the animation once more before finishing on the outside, so it's perfectly looped. I'm adding keyframes every 6 seconds, as the composition is set to 24 frames per second. Once it's done, let's go to the 9-second mark and select all the keyframes. Press Alt and drag the last keyframe to the 9-second mark. This will extend the duration, but will maintain the animation we have created with our keyframes. And that's it. We now have a smooth looped transition between shapes, colors, strokes, and offset paths. This marks the end to the first task of this assignment. Assignment 4B, Task 2. Create a new composition for the text animation. Using the Text tool, write the word Hello and center align it for better visibility. Use the Pen tool to create a mask, and under Path Options, select the mask so the path follows this shape. Now go to the Mask property and animate the mask path. You can use the Convert Vertex tool to move the handles and match the shape as instructed. Now the text moves from one shape to the other. Before moving to the next section of the task, let's add a keyframe to make the path flat, so we can animate the tracking and blur on the same text layer. Move to the beginning of the timeline and add the Blur property to the layer. Increase the blur value, and now add the tracking property as well. Make sure you're working on a per character basis, and proceed to edit the parameters to mimic the reference image. Add keyframes to the tracking amount and the blur. Move to the 1-second mark and add keyframes by decreasing the blur and reducing the tracking distance. Our text animation is now complete, and as an additional bonus, we'll keep working on this layer to make a decoder animation. Start by adding the character offset to the Animator 2 property. Let's animate the character offset parameter so it goes to 0 at the 1 second mark. If you haven't noticed yet, I'm a big fan of looped animations. So let's revert our decoder animation using the technique we've learned from previous lessons. Copy and paste the keyframes from the beginning and time reverse them. To finish, add an extra keyframe to our mask path so it returns to its original flat shape. And that's it. Preview the animation and remember to keep practicing and experimenting with properties and parameters. Bye!